misses.
Here we go. He can put it back post.
Headbutt, not good. Oh, Miles, I thought we were going to have another goal in our hands. LA did a great job recovering and to keep control.
Good ball back now. Into Kai. Played in. I think he's onside, and he is, and he gets the goal. Los Angeles have it.
Let's go. LA taking a 2-1 lead over New York early on in this match. Guys, we are still in the first half. Remember, these are 12-minute games, 6-minute halves.
Another to get the team in the lead, but try not to concede a goal at the same time. So then you're losing your focus in the game, and the heads may drop off the players. But here's
on the break.
Los Angeles, good ball in! And got him! 3-1!
Let's go! LA putting another goal on the board, taking a 2-goal lead late in the second half of this game. New York in a bit of trouble.
Hollywood has those things before the build-up, bringing that ball up, bringing it to the wing. Great ball to El Munir, and what a save from the goalkeeper.
Great save, great save. Speaking of save, what we're doing today, we are raising money for charity because we are trying to save these teams. We're trying to make a better lifestyle for them while they, after they're diagnosed with cancer, just their whole overall experience. So we are raising funds today. So guys, if you feel so inclined, we would love for you to make a donation as we are, and we see a goal.
We just see a goal.
NYC. NYC trying to get back in this thing.
6 minute there. So we're really approaching the last 50, and as I said, this is where the momentum could pick in Hollywood. A fantastic game, and really playing a fair game, and really going for it. But it's been a fantastic first game to this stream this evening, and to this event of US versus UK charity event. And now here is Los Angeles FC bringing it forward, trying to find the right filter and away defensively from New York City.
I mean, what we need to see out of Nicholas at this point, we need to see another great break. Nicholas has got to take it the other way.
A goal there that could just kill the game. I think it's gone off right.
Pablo is everywhere. Pablo is everywhere. This guy is that much more difficult for Nicholas controlling team NYC to get back ahead.
And yet another goal for LAFC. Carlos there with a fantastic chip there to make it 5-2.
Can we get some hype in the chat for all these goals that we've seen in the last 2 minutes? So Miles, I hate to say it this way, but this game is all but over. You got to wonder what are the changes?
You say that, and a goal.
I say that. Nicholas coming back with another goal going the other way. He says, "Hey, don't count me out yet. This thing's not over." I mean, I was just going to say, what kind of changes does he need to make? But seems like he knows exactly the changes he needs to make if he wants to stay in this thing.
I would say, since that goal just went in there, we were talking, I think the midfield really stepped up there. Go for it, but it's a goal kick.
And guys, just so in case you didn't notice, we got two brand new players right now. We got Chris Holly playing for NYC versus Martin Arrigal playing for LA FC. So two new players, two new strategies we'll see. Obviously, LA took game number 1, but right now, New York's looking really good. Game number 2 and just like that.
And got an unbelievable goal for New York City in this first 10 minutes.
New York just coming in, great defensive
stop. Fantastic ball
great
through, and they've doubled their lead.
Again. New York, right now, New York making it easy. I think the roster change, bringing in Chris for New York. Chris is getting done right now as LAFC still sitting in the donut shop. And people from the GGL know all about the donut shop. Right now, LAFC sitting in the donut shop against NYC as Chris Holly just seems to have Remy Martin's number right now.
Well, that's fantastic play from New York now. Putting that ball through in the box and defended well from New York. From LA, sorry. Yeah, I think New York are really starting to adapt now to playing defensive football. They realise they're 3-0 up here. They need to secure this win so it goes to that third game. So it's really good, really exciting. As we said before the game, we want to see a third game. We want to see an exciting one. And that's, by the looks of it so far, that looks like how it's going. with a potential attack again to make it 4, and they certainly do. What a goal from Chris Holly.
What a goal.
What a finish to make it 4-0.
I mean,
it's the winger again.
Point, Miles, this thing's getting out of hand. At this point, you got to wonder, does LA need to score just to keep them motivated for game number 3? Because I feel, I mean, they say life is a game of inches. Well, you know what? In this game of football, he was saved by inches on that one.
Chris Holly really using Mackay Steven there. He's got very good skill in the game and using his pace to really try and get past Remy Martin here defensively. Remy Martin, who struggled to defend in this first game, but has been really solid so far and really impressive in this second game.
Oh, that was a great view.
Oh,
finally, Chris Holly finds the back of the net.
Chris Holly.
Oh, I saw the juke, the incredible foot, as it's going to force Remy Martin to be a lot more aggressive because he's got to get the ball in the goal.
I think in a way it's been a good thing for Remy Martin really to go to half-time. He can use this, I know it's only about a minute, but he can use that to just really think of how he's going to approach this second half, how he's going to approach the defence off Chris Holly. He knows it's solid, he knows it's hard to get past, but there is always a way to get past him. Remy Martin lets Chris Holly through there, and Mackay Steven.
Chris Holly makes it
with
easy.
Another fantastic goal. Play wide, using skill now, and it actually worked effectively with a fantastic ball. A great turn from Rossi. And the back heel there, which is coming across effectively to try and put the winger in a position where Chris Holly won't expect him in. And fantastic
great pass
turn,
there. 1v1. Goes back mid.
And we get a goal.
Finds the back of the net. That's the goal that he needed. Gets LA on the board. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we got a game. LA now only down 2-1. The question is, can they do it again? LA absolutely needs to get on the ball that he needed. Gets LA on the board. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we got a game. LA now only down 2-1. The question is, can they do it again? LA absolutely needs to get on the board.
That's a really good goal there from Remy Martin. Really good attacking football, bringing it up to Rossi in the 75th minute with a huge goal. This last 15 is going to be huge. And Chris Holly gets an unbelievable goal
Chris Holly with another answer. This kid can't be stopped. This kid can't be stopped. Just when you thought, it's like, hey.
Again, using the momentum.
Hello everyone, Dom here, back with another stream. Thanks for joining us on this Bank Holiday Monday. I set this stream time before a few weeks back, and I didn't realise it was Bank Holiday Monday, so I really appreciate the panel being with us today, and for you guys streaming in. We'll of course have this on YouTube and across our socials afterwards, so you can listen back for those of you who aren't watching this live. This is a bit of a different topic for us today, a very important one, close to my heart as well. I have my dad, I have an uncle and a few other people in my family disabled. So for me, one of the things I love about esports is it's inclusive, it's open to everyone regardless of gender, age, ability, that kind of thing. And we're going to talk about this today. Is esports accessible for disabled and neurodivergent people? And so without further ado, I'm going to go into the panel here. I'm just going to unmute these lovely people on Zoom. So I'm joined by Max, Jake and Terry. Thanks very much for joining us today, guys.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So maybe, guys, you can start by introducing yourselves. If we go around clockwise, so Max first, then Jake, and then Terry. Tell us a bit about what you do in esports and gaming.
Yeah, so my name is Max. I'm the team manager of eTeam Brit. We are the esports subsidy, as it were, of Team Brit, who are a motor racing team made up of entirely disabled drivers. And that is the same for us as an esports team. All of our drivers have a disability, whether that be a mental or physical one. And yeah, so, and that's what we do. We're sort of just out there to demonstrate that disability isn't holding us back when it comes to competing with able-bodied drivers.
Fantastic. Jake?
So hi everyone. My name is Jake Mackey. I'm the Games Partnership Manager at Autistica. And Autistica is the UK's leading autism research charity. So everything we do is to create life-changing research and solutions for autistic people and their families. So I joined them in 2019 to set up Autistica Play, which is an initiative directed specifically at the games industry, those who create games and those who play games, specifically autistic people, neurodiverse people.
Okay, cool. And Terry, you're no stranger to our streams, Terry.
So my name's Terry. By day, I'm a digital marketer for a CGI animation company. And the rest of the time, I'm a British Esports Association game advisor for Overwatch. I also have been a volunteer with Special Effect. It's probably be getting on about 4 years now. So attended 6 or 7 events, a few live stream stuff as well. So I'm here mostly for that, to kind of represent Special Effect. Yeah.
Great stuff. So all from different backgrounds, and again, I appreciate you joining us for this panel, guys. I'll jump straight into it. Do you think esports is technically open to all, as I was saying earlier, but how inclusive and accessible do you feel it is at the moment? Do you feel it's very open? You have no problems, and the people that follow you guys, whether it's Autistica, Team Brit, Special Effect, they don't see many, they don't seem to be treated any differently? Or how open do you feel esports is to disabled and neurodiverse people?
I think from my perspective, I've seen that the attitude, certainly from those within the industry, has been overwhelmingly positive. I think areas that the industry falls down a little bit is maybe in some of the accessibility with regards to hardware. So, for example, with ourselves, we've created a hand control system, which would allow drivers who may be paraplegic or have difficulty in the movement of their legs can use a steering wheel system. And I don't know about the wider community, but I find that that's probably the one area that's probably been let down a bit by the industry as a whole. But I think the attitudes themselves are overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, I think the hardware's got a little while yet to catch up. You've got the eye tracking software now, which is being used for summer racing. I'll be using that at Forza at one of the events. And it is really good, but I think it's going to take a little while to be able to get that technology up to the same level as some of the competitive people, just to try and level the playing field, which I know is kind of a saying for Special Effect anyway, but that's kind of it. You don't want there to be too much of a difference between whether you have difficulties playing a game or you don't. It's about so that you can play together, compete together or against each other, and have fun while you're doing it. But when it comes to the higher level competitive stuff, I think there does need to be a little bit more. Hopefully in the next year or two there'll be a few more progressions in the systems, in the hardware, to have it more accessible.
Would you echo that, Jake? What are your views?
So I think just carrying on what Terry was saying, when you talk about the general accessibility for just esports in general, it's like a amateur level. It's quite accessible, I think, at this point. Everything can always be done better, but I think the last few years I've definitely seen some major steps in terms of accessibility and kind of awareness, and the way in which the messages are communicated. What with Lion winning the Grandmaster for Hearthstone last year, being the first female. I mean, that's a major awareness piece right there when it comes to gender. When it comes to physical disability, I don't have that much experience, but for neurodiversity, obviously, like Terry was saying, when it comes to the elites, the champions, then there is something to talk about accessibility and kind of the, as you said, level the playing field point of view. How when it comes to, for example, when it comes to neurodiversity, obviously it's such a diverse range of possibilities, and a way in which we can create something that's accessible for all is most definitely going to be ultimately challenging. But there are, of course, things that are being done and things that can be done to become more accessible. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Jake, as someone at Autistica, maybe for those watching this, there may be a few young people or others watching, and they don't know what neurodiversity is. Because this was a term that sprung up. You know, I've only been aware of this term for a few years. So are you able to maybe give us a brief overview for those of us that don't know?
Yeah, so I mean, the same with physiological being physical, neurological being the mind, and then diversity just being variations. So it basically just means variations of the mind. So as with different languages, cultures, religions, diversity of us as a human populace, there's obviously diversity in physical abilities, there's diversity of mental capabilities, which is neurodiversity.
Absolutely. Great answer. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but there doesn't seem to be an esports tournament specifically for disabled or neurodiverse people. Now, is this something you would like to see, or would you prefer not to segregate? Because, you know, in esports, people of all abilities can take part, you know, and I'll come on to some pro gamers and amateur gamers that are disabled. What are your views there? Because it's in a way it reminds me of you know, there are some female-only tournaments, and there are some people that say, "Yep, this is great because it promotes more females to get involved." And then there's another school of thinking that says, "Well, hang on, esports is mixed and open to everyone." So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, we had a situation very recently with regards to that with the W series. So as many people know, with motor racing, because it's all stopped, everybody has come on board on the sim racing bandwagon, as it were. So what was a niche hobby for a lot of people has now become the mainstream. And the W series is a championship, a single seater Formula style car championship exclusively for women. And they introduced an esports series to dovetail their season while we're in lockdown, and there was a lot of controversy to it because the general attitude within esports is open to all. So why do we need to segregate? And I think it's the same for us as well. We pride ourselves on being able to take on the best drivers in the world, the best sim racers, on an equal playing field. We adapt our technology to make it work for us, but we can compete with the best. So why would we want to then separate ourselves into our own little bubble? For us, you know, as I say, it's a case of adapt, but compete on a level playing field.
What do you guys think? Do you have thoughts on that, Terry, Jake?
Yeah, I don't. It's a difficult question, isn't it? You don't want to segregate people, but at the same time, you want to have. It's a little bit like having a top tier athlete fight running against somebody who isn't as physically able. Now, it doesn't. It at the start it just makes it slightly unfair. If I'm being, and I'm not being harsh, I'm trying to be sensitive at the same time. But you know, it's difficult to have it equal without there being like the right equipment or the right, in our case in esports, right hardware and software, which makes it level, but at the same time doesn't then give the person who is using those tools to help like surpass them. Like if they are a really good gamer, for example, you know, that it doesn't make them too good as an example. And I think that's going to take a little while to get used to, especially for the top tier leagues to be able to allow those kind of software and hardware in without rubbing the top teams like the wrong way, so to speak. But I do think it's going to take a little while. Yeah, I would say though that you know, I compete in a few of the there's loads and loads of different esports tournaments that you can go on to. You know, I compete in the All for One tournament. There's the Oversalt tournament. I know this is specific to Overwatch, but this is the same for many different types of games. You've got loads of stuff on Battlefy, and it doesn't matter how you play, what level you are, you still get to experience esports in a competitive environment, no matter how good or how not good you are. From your own personal opinion. So I think that there's still ways that people can access esports. I'm not sure about how accessible it is then to get into, you know, the top elite tier yet.
I think another thing to think about is if you were to segregate disability being such a wide spectrum. I mean, for someone like myself, I'm on the autistic spectrum, but I compete with fundamentally a normal setup. I've got a wheel, I've got a pedal set, I've got a shifter as well, for depending on the car I'm driving. But where do you draw the line between what disabilities can run and what disabilities can't? I mean, one of my teammates uses one of our hand control systems. He uses the paddles on the back as his brake and his accelerator, and he's got a further 2 paddles for gears. Fundamentally, the inputs are the same where he pulls a paddle, where I push down on a pedal. Yes, he's quicker than me, but I think that's because he's just a better driver, not because his equipment is giving him an unfair advantage. If anything, it gives him a bit of a disadvantage, because whereas with a pedal I've got more of a throw, and I can fine tune more so how much input I want. For him, he's got a tiny amount of movement within the paddle. So in that sense, I've never come across, certainly from an esports perspective, where somebody has an unfair advantage by their equipment, because fundamentally it's buttons, it's potentiometers, it's just inputs into a system. Whereas if it was something like athletics, where we had Oscar Pistorius racing in the main Olympics, there were talks whether his blades with the flex in that were giving him an unfair advantage, whereas that's more a focus on the individual rather than. Whereas with gaming, it's an input, it's a means to an input.
Absolutely. And Terry and Jake as well, I wanted to ask you as well, because I was talking about specific tournaments and things. Special Effect has held several sort of industry tournaments, and also Autistic has done a few bits with Enemy of Boredom, if I'm not mistaken, Jake. So maybe you could tell us a bit about those initiatives and how they've gone.
Yeah, so I mean, well, before we move on that, I was just waiting to take my turn and listen.
No worries, go for it.
I think it's definitely like Max and Terry have said. There's so many nuances to diversity, and so many factors to consider. I think like Max mentioned, when it comes to the input to the system, you know, there's even if you just take if you don't take into any consideration the diversity, the physical or neurological diversity, and you have two players that are both physically and neurologically the same. One's using a standard, I don't know, PS4 controller, and one's using a fight stick, or one's using one of those controllers that have extra buttons on the back. Those do create nuanced differences in terms of accessibility and input, and those could be argued to be different levels of advantages. And I'm definitely in the camp of, when it comes to gender diversity, I think obviously, while it makes sense, I think in the physical realm, due to the differences in the gendered abilities of muscle mass, bone density, all that stuff that's been researched. When it comes to esports and digital sports, for me, it's definitely a concept of the mind. So I don't see why there is gender division. I think that's definitely something that is nuanced and needs to be looked at in terms of having mixed gendered teams and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, onto the things that we've done at Autistica in the last year and a bit. One of the things that we did was a weekend where we just wanted to create a space where it was accessible for all people to come together. Because as we all know, sometimes playing online, it can be quite treacherous minefield, and if you're not the best, or if you make mistakes, or whatever it be, I don't know whether it's you're playing on Destiny and perhaps you're lacking a bit in the raid or something like that. People could be quite mean and disregard your trying. I've been on the receiving end of that. So we just created a weekend after, it was 1 week after World Mental Health Day. It was just a weekend where people come together and basically for all the kind of streamers, influencers, people that have fancy setups, like this kind of setup, we're all here together, and people that have like lights and they play the games that their audiences want to see. Just kind of strip all that down, talk about yourself as a person, your mental health, things that you found important on World Mental Health Day, and just come together in an understanding that the conversations that are happening on those streams that are taking part are just about being inclusive and having a conversation and being able to be open and converse these things with your communities and with yourself, and just in a space that's safe, really. And then the other thing was, earlier this year, it's not esports, but we did have a game jam with the Tentacle Zone at Palo Studios, where we invited everyone to participate and create games based on research. And these research areas were based on 3 things. So co-occurring mental health conditions, because you find that there is a lot higher percentage in autistic people than neurotypical people when it comes to co-occurring mental health conditions. And then employability, because we find that while there's 16% of autistic people hired, 77% want to work, and it's a massive disparity, something we want to raise attention to. And then the third one was around alternative communication methods, because there's obviously 1 in 4 autistic people who are minimally or nonverbal. So we had lots of people come together and create games, and many of those games were created by autistic people themselves. Many people have never taken part in a game jam. So again, it just shows the value of when we create a space that is accessible and we promote it as accessible, and we kind of say that it's open for all, you do kind of open a door that even if it's not closed beforehand, just being aware of the terminology that we use and being aware of the way we present certain things, it does allow those people that want to take part but don't feel they're able to take part. It kind of allows them to feel that they're welcome. But I feel like I've waffled now, so I'll stop there.
No, that's good. You're doing a lot of good work there. And I can confirm, speaking from experience, game jams are a lot of fun. I did one with Yuki last year, and we had to do a game in, whatever it was, 48 hours. And that was a good challenge. It's a good way of getting to know other people, teamwork, having fun in a way that esports can't offer. But it's still quite competitive because you're trying to make a game that's better than the other people.
Exactly.
So you're up against the clock.
Just on that as well, because that is an important thing, is a part of the reason why we did the game jam was because of that. Like you just mentioned, 48 hours. I've been in game jams before, and it's a physical space, closed environment, 48, 72 hours. It's quite intense, and it's quite male dominated. So a lot of these physical game jams can be quite exclusionary just in the way that they're set up. So we created this game jam that took place over a week and 2 weekends. And it was just anyone can take part in whatever way they want. We were available on stream and on Discord every day for anyone that wanted to be a part. The only thing that was set in stone was the submission of the game at the end of the period, which was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. So at the end of that, you could submit something. That was the only rule that was set. And we found, it was just loads of people took part that said they'd never taken part before. So definitely something we're looking at doing again.
That's great. And Terry, any examples of things that Special Effects has done? They did some industry bits, right, to raise money, I think.
I would just want to say game jams are awesome. I haven't taken part in one, but I've attended Eurogamer a number of times and Rezzed, where they hold a couple of game jams. They've held them the last couple of years. And it's pretty cool seeing what they can do in like 2 days. It's like it would take me like a year to do anything close to that. Special Effect do quite loads of stuff. Lots of marathons and stuff to help raise money to keep fit, which is really good for your mental health. But in terms of for gaming, they have done the Chicken for Charity the last couple of years.
That's it, yeah.
Which is specifically for PUBG, but they have tried it. I think they were going to try it with a couple of the other kind of Fortnite or other Battle Royale games. So I guess they could look into Call of Duty, kind of looking for a winner chicken dinner type thing. And then they do the Game Blast as well. Which they've had games like CS:GO and other competitive games where they try and get people within the industry to compete with each other, just to get people to have a bit of fun and see which studio is the best. And then they do stuff like six-a-side football tournaments as well. They do quite a few different bits, I think. But yeah.
That's great. Just want to say something for people watching on the stream. I should have said this at the start. If you have any questions for the panel, please ask them in the Twitch chat, and I'll try and come on to them when I can or near the end. Another thing, anyone who wants to sub or donate to the British Esports Twitch channel this month and next month, we're giving all the proceeds to the National Video Game Museum, who have been, facing some challenges due to lockdown and so on. I know the Yogscast did a lot for them, but we're helping out a little bit as well. And there's some new emotes and things. If Elliot's still in the chat, my colleague Elliot, or any of the mods we've got, there's a few emotes and things that they might be able to show off. We've just had those designed, some really cool like lion emotes and things like that. There we go. Elliot's put some in there. There's actually a Sacco's Snackos emote, which, oh god, I'm gonna have to do some streams based on, I don't know, making cakes and goodness knows what. I need to think about that. And then lastly, someone said in the chat, guys, SideQuest HQ said, I'm currently developing a service to help young people with disabilities and mental health conditions to find rewarding careers in the games industry. I would love to speak with you all about how best to support those young people. And that's from someone called Brandon. So maybe after this, Brandon, we can put you in touch and discuss more. So that's a little bit of an update on the stream. One thing I wanted to talk about, guys, I saw last week Twitch actually put out some information around Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Now, I feel bad because I've missed this day last week, and it would have made sense to tie this stream in with that. But hey, we're only a few days late, so it's not too bad. And Twitch were talking about how it's making Twitch a more digitally accessible place. And of course, streaming offers an avenue for disabled and neurodiverse gamers. I follow a few streamers. I think it's No Hands Ken, who is paraplegic, I believe, and but he streams Diablo and things like that. And it offers an avenue for these types of gamers. What do you think of that? Are you guys using streaming platforms to do a similar thing? Are you encouraged by what Twitch offers those types of gamers?
Yeah, I think from the perspective of us, we use streaming quite predominantly. So as well as running a sim racing team, we put on events as well. And what we like about those events is we can showcase who we are, what we're about, what we're doing. Not just in esports, but in real world as well, supporting disabled people. And then usually it follows by a race where our disabled drivers are then mixing it with some of the biggest names in motorsport. So from our perspective, yes, it is a positive thing. And also, we have individual drivers that will stream as well, and it gives them an opportunity to sort of show their personalities as well. There's a lot of misconceptions around certain disabilities, particularly with, say, autistic people. One of the things I get told a lot is they're surprised I have a sense of humour. Most autistic people are apparently quite straight-laced and sort of blinkered to the rest of the world, whereas I think by having that opportunity to sort of broadcast ourselves, people realise that actually we're nice people, and they want us to be involved with themselves.
That's great. How about you guys, Terry, Jake? Any views there?
Yeah, I mean, if I could just jump in there, exactly, that's one of the reasons why I joined Autistica. So for those in chat that don't know, I come from the games industry, worked for Japanese publishers, and kind of throughout the years, obviously interacted with many neurodiverse people, many autistic people, fellow gamers, and just kind of became increasingly aware of the accessibility and kind of a lot of those myths and kind of things that people like Max just said, you know, the fact about not having a humor, when in fact, you know, some of my autistic friends are the most sarcastic and amazing people that leave me in the dust. And it's just, that was one of the main things for me joining Autistica was just being part of that conversation, being part of that change, making sure that the games industry is more accessible to a massive swell of people that are using their products and working in the industry. Yeah, I mean, I kind of lost my my point there, but it was literally just, I just wanted to jump on that and just say exactly what Max said.
I know what you mean, and I think for me, it's like when I joined one of my previous companies, I turned around to my boss, and I'm sure you probably won't mind me mentioning his name. His name was Chris Andrew, and I said to him when I joined the company, don't treat me different. Don't treat me Max, the autistic guy. Treat me as Max. Treat me like you would all the other guys. And I think by treating me like one of the others, I kind of learned an ability to sort of read the room I was in, get a feel for the sort of sense of humor that I was surrounded by, and you sort of subconsciously you build confidence from it, and as I say, because they're willing to just treat you as an equal, you flourish in that sort of environment. And I think Chris was quite instrumental to that for me. And it meant that when I talk to people within the wider industry, you know, nobody thinks that, you know, my autism is rarely mentioned now. It's only sort of in these sort of circumstances where it does get mentioned, but otherwise I'm just Max,
exactly.
and people just like having me around, which is a good thing. And it's the same for a lot of drivers. I mean, one of our drivers, Sandro, we were competing in a race, and he's 13, and he was telling off a driver who was probably 3 times his age about a movie made into one of the corners. You could hear the whole chat erupting with laughter. The way he was just so serious. And he said, "You shouldn't be dive bombing into that corner. Show some respect."
Do you know what? Those are some brilliant answers. This is the thing I like about Twitch as well, is that I find myself doing it. I don't stream much because I don't have much time. I would like to stream gameplay and things like that. Once you get into the zone in Twitch, it's almost like the chat aren't there. I mean, in my case, on my own personal channel, the chat aren't there anyway because I'm not a popular streamer. But you know what I mean, right? You're sort of streaming. It's like a stream of consciousness. You're talking to the camera. You're really in your zone. You're yourself. So I think what you were saying, Max and Jake, about, you know, being yourself and being in an environment where you're just treated as a normal person, which should be the case anyway, right? Twitch lends itself to that pretty well, I think. Once you get in that zone, it's you in front of the camera. It's very, it highlights your personality. You know, I think that's fair to say. Obviously, there'll be people in the chat, and I'm sure, you know, there are streamers out there that they'll have toxic people in the chat, and that's another thing entirely. But my point is, this digital age we're in, I think allows people to express themselves and be themselves.
100%.
You know?
I think it's really important at this point to just mention about how during this pandemic, this has been such an amazing opportunity. While it's obviously a terrible situation that we find ourselves in, and there's so many people that are struggling so much more. I mean, I'm so grateful for the fact that, you know, we're able to have this conversation now. We all have our jobs and we're able to do this, but so many other people don't have that opportunity, don't have that. But I think one of the silver linings through this pandemic is all these digital events. For example, this conversation that we're having now, would it not be digital? Who knows? For example, the Autistica Play event that we hold during World Autism Awareness Week. You know, this year we plan on doing it at the BFI, as always, bringing together autism research in the games industry, which is where we actually had Enemy of Boredom. They brought down some of their students, some of which were autistic, and the students held a mini Smash Bros tournament as part of the activities as part of the event. So we held it digitally this year just because of the pandemic. But I think the digital platforms, they allow, again, so much more accessibility, whether it be something like geographical, financial barriers, but also neurological barriers. You know, there's a lot of boundaries that are in the physical world. And, you know, while some people might be just fine to navigate the physical world, neurodiversity, autism, it's, you know, it's to use the word spectrum. And, you know, this means that for a lot of people, they can't participate in those events, you know, especially when it comes to esports events or our games industry events that can be really overwhelming with sensory input and just the amount of people. Even for me, it's like really overwhelming. So these digital platforms really do allow us to open up our doors and reach a new audience. One of the first things we did when I joined Autistica was get Autistica set up on Twitch. We have a channel, Autistica Play. We've used it a few times, and we did a thanking day, which is where people in the charity, for those of you that don't know, Autistica is a small charity, 20 people, and we're not government funded, so everything we do is purely with generosity of the people. We basically streamed for 6 hours, which in itself was a challenge. We had loads of different people coming in throughout the day, just talking about what they do at the charity. We had researchers, director of science, various different people that represent different things. And yeah, like you said, you get toxic people. I mean, that's part and parcel with the platform. But the positive is we're being accessible to an entire new audience, and that's something you can't get. For example, if we did this physical in London, you know, that means our audience is going to be a lot smaller, just because of the nature of the physicality of it. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Terry, I'm conscious we haven't allowed you to speak.
That's fine. No, I mean, the internet's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Like, I remember 15, 20 years ago when I'd have to drag my Xbox and PC monitor like 20 minutes down the road just to be able to play some LAN Halo and stuff, where it's completely different now. And you can play with people, you know, I still play with him, but he lives up in Cambridge and I don't have to lug all my gear.
Yeah.
We still do it a couple of times a year, I don't know why.
There's something to be said about meeting up with your mates, monitors.
Yeah.
Take my pizza. There's still something to be said about that.
I tell you what, guys, at the next Insomnia Gaming Festival or whatever other gaming event after this lockdown lifts and we have a vaccine or whatever else, that's going to sell out very quickly compared to previous events, because people are really going to, you know, want to go because it's been so long since the last one.
Yeah, I mean, I had my tickets and everything for the last one.
Oh, so gutted. Yeah, I was looking forward to it.
I've only attended one before, but that was with special effects, so not kind of bringing a gaming setup and playing for 5 days straight without a wife or kids to interrupt me.
Although, shout out to Epic LAN. They've just announced Epic WAN, so it's going to be a digital version. So they've got their pub quiz and they're trying to get all those community activities, so it's not just online gameplay as usual, you know. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I'll have to see if I can join that. Right, I'm conscious of time, guys. We've got 20 minutes left. There's a few more discussion points here I really want to cover. There's one pro player that caught my attention recently called Broly Legs, who suffers from, I may pronounce this wrong, arthrogryposis, a rare genetic condition that seizes up crucial joints in his arms and legs. He plays in fighting game tournaments with his face. I believe he uses his tongue to move the controller and things like that, and uses parts of his face. And his motto is no legs, no hands, no excuses. And he said this in a tweet: always been my motto. No matter what obstacle comes my way, I face it head on. Win or lose, I'll always try. What do you think of that? Do you think players like that, those sort of amateur or semi-pro or pro disabled gamers, will inspire other disabled and neurodiverse players to get involved in esports, or do you not think it matters?
I think so. Like, inspires me to get into it, and you know, like to be able to see that from anyone, You know, especially with somebody who, you know, typically a controller requires hands in most cases, and I know there's a lot of adaptive controller setups now, but you know, historically, and to not use your hands at all, but still compete at a high level without using it, you know, is mind blowing, and it's awesome to watch.
Absolutely.
I think for me, it's a case of, for a lot of people, esports can be seen as an escape or a coping strategy. For me, it has proven that, but I think from where I'm sat here with E-Team Brit, I think for me it also gives me a platform to sort of say to other disabled people, it's like, look, I've had my struggles, but I found ways around them, and we're here to help you, and I want to be, you know, 10, 15 years down the line, having brought somebody into our team who maybe was struggling to get work or couldn't make friends, to flourish, really. And I think, as you say, having the platform to promote yourself, there's an element of responsibility to do so.
Absolutely. Jake, do you have any thoughts there? I guess it is inspiring, isn't it? Though
it's amazing to know that there's people that are competing at, you know, champion level without the use of, you know, the tradition of using your hands to play games. I mean, that's amazing. And I think, yeah, it is vitally important for representation. I think, you know, while for some people it might not seem like an obvious need, it might not seem like you need something because you're not used to being left out of the conversation, you're not used to not being seen or not being heard. So I think it's definitely empowering to show other people that may be physiologically or neurologically diverse, that they're also able to participate and that they're also included, and that, you know, I mean, Broly's saying, you know, what was it? No hands, no legs, no challenge.
It's no excuses. Yeah, no excuses.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So I mean, even for me, like, you know, one of the excuses I use, because I try my best at fighting games. I'm not very good at it. So I have tumors in my right hand and wrist, so I can't really use it that well. And, you know, I try my best to kind of play, but I'm just not very good at, you know, the speedy combos, because I don't really have that much mobility in my right hand, and I am right-handed. But then obviously, if someone can play it with the muscles in their face and the parts, then what excuse have I got? You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely empowering.
Yeah, I think I could be wrong. I think there was someone that played League of Legends with their feet. I saw a Reddit post a while back, which is quite impressive. I mean, I struggle to play it with my hands in silver and gold ranked elo, so that's encouraging as well. One thing I wanted to ask, and this might be one for you, Jake. We've spoken about this before. You've held events and things in the past, and I asked the panelists this question. We seem to have got a little bit better. This term doesn't get used as much these days, but the term autist was still being used as an insult in some video games online. And, you know, just by trolls or people that wanted to harass other people. And I personally didn't like that being used as an insult. There are other words that are used as insults, of course, that aren't nice as well. But that, I thought, unfairly sort of stigmatised autistic people as well. What are your views there? For me, that doesn't seem to be used as much as I saw a year or two ago. So I don't know if that's sort of going away a bit now. What are your views?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess in the general sense of things, I think it's definitely reducing because people are becoming more aware. And again, this is another reason why I joined Autistica, because it's so vitally important that we empower those that don't have the knowledge or don't understand to become more understanding, become more knowledgeable. And instead of doing it as like just an ad hoc, here, this might work for you, use data and research and directly work with the community that you want to represent. Obviously for Autistica, that being autistic people and their families. But, you know, and I think it also depends as well in the circles that you are in, because, you know, you could go, if you're in circles that are maybe more inclusive, then obviously you wouldn't hear it at all. But other circles could be more. I don't know whether it's toxic or uneducated or just cat. No, don't jump up on me now. I have a cat that likes to jump up on whenever he hears me talking. He comes from nowhere and jumps off my desk. But yeah, I think from what I see, it's definitely used less, but it's still used. And if it's still going to be used, especially in by influencers and in pop culture, then in a negative way, then there's still work that needs to be done to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Just quickly, guys. So Squark has said in the chat, yes, cat, with a sort of sad cat emote. So I think he wants to see the cat now.
Okay.
I want to see the cat.
There you go.
There we go. Oh, lovely.
Another joy of the home stuff. Oh,
yeah. What's his name?
So his name is Kurama, which is that nine-tailed fox off Naruto. Yes, I am
nice.
Right, okay.
One of those guys.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, we've got some nice emotes there coming in the chat. Yeah, lovely. Did you guys have any view on that? Do you see any insults bandied about?
I think the term "orst" I'd never heard until it was mentioned here, I must admit. But I think it's funny. You kind of see it from where I see it. You've got two kinds. You've got the situation where you're playing a game and it could be that somebody keeps shooting this particular person and you think, oh my God, he's being an idiot. What an absolute whatever. And it could be that he might use a term that in his country, in his language, is maybe seen as less derogatory than it is in, say, the UK. So, like, say, for example, retard. In America, it does mean you are of a lower mental capacity, whereas in the UK, it's deemed an insult. But I think if you looked at something like Twitter or social media where people would jump on that, I think those are the kind of people who would jump on you because you're fat or because you're transgender or because because you're autistic or because you're in a wheelchair. They will just latch on to whatever disadvantage they feel you've got.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody will specifically target an individual, certainly from from a racing perspective, because of a disability. A lot of the time, as I said, it's overwhelmingly positive. I've never come across, certainly racing, somebody attack us because we're a disabled team.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And so Squark said in the chat, I've seen less and less insults like that being thrown around. I think insults like that are like trends on the internet. It makes a point. You know, when I was at school, the term gay was used as an insult, and that was commonly accepted as an insult. And then you grow up and realise, hang on, what are we doing there? We're copying each other, but actually we shouldn't be saying that. You know, just conscious, guys. We've got 10 minutes left. Sorry, Terry, did you want to add anything on that topic before we moved on?
Yeah, like I would agree that it's definitely reducing. So before I do what I do now, which I've done for about 18 months now, I worked in education for 11 years. So in a secondary school, mostly with the older end, so 15 to 18. Obviously, in a school environment, there's still words being thrown around. They're still understanding the reason why some insults are particularly worse than others, although all insults are. You know, they're just trying to be cool or be different. And I think it's that word of not accepting difference when you're younger, which I think is becoming better now. You know, it would be really boring if everybody liked the same music and everybody liked the same food, and everyone wore the same clothes, but they still focus on that. Oh, you haven't got Nike trainers on, or why are you listening to that band? You're a grunger or whatever. You know, I liked rock music. I got called a grunger, and it's like, same. But why does that? What's the difference? You know, there's no difference between us. And you know, you mentioned a couple of the terms as well, which kind of got used, but I do think it's being used less. I have heard autism being used before, and again, I think it's mostly because of them just having a lack of understanding of exactly what they mean. You know, it's usually either because they don't understand, or because they're just trying to trigger you, one or the other. That's my view anyway.
Yeah, 100%. So, sorry, Terry, did I cut you off there? Was there more?
No, I was just gonna say I'll stop now because I know there's 10 minutes.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, so I was just gonna say, well, we're on to 9 minutes left, guys, and any questions you want to get in, please ask us now. I've seen the viewer numbers have gone up a little bit, and it's always a good advantage to watching these streams live, because you get to participate and ask questions live. So you've got a chance to ask some questions now for this great panel. We've had one question earlier, also from SideQuest HQ, who said, "Hi Dom, thank you. I'd love to know if the young people that you folks work with are not only interested in gaming, but also in working in the games industry." I guess it means in general. And if yes, what careers are they interested in, and what are the current barriers? I mean, that's a very broad question. Yeah, we get a lot of people at the British Esports Association obviously wanting to work in esports. There are a few that come to us who say, "Oh, Dom, I want to get into games journalism. I want to get into games PR. It's not specifically esports. Do you have any tips?" And then I try and give them some tips, or I try and put them in touch with some good PR agencies out there, or contacts that I have. And I'm guessing for you guys, I mean, E-Team Brit, you have Team Brit as well. So you have the actual physical racing, and then Jake, you know, you have various people at your event. There were game developers there and things like that. Might not be interested in esports, but general games industry. Does anyone want to answer that question? You know, what careers are people interested in that approach you guys, and what are their barriers?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one thing I've learned growing up is, if you want to say, as you say, if you want to say get into video game marketing, I would say if you're young and you're starting out, don't turn down an opportunity, be it as a trainee marketing executive for a supermarket, for example, thinking out loud here. Because while for me, getting to work in esports, getting to work with sim racing is really cool, the skills I learned to do this, I've learned in other industry. So
Right.
running an esports team is very much like running a business, because at the end of the day, it's got to be profitable. I learned those skills running a tool company, and I also learned those within the motor trade and working in car dealerships and various other businesses. At one point I was working in electronics disposal, but there's patterns, and those skill sets will help you. That once you've got those skill sets, then you can afford to be fussy about what kind of industry you work in, because you've got the skill set behind you.
I think it's like talking to a lot of the students, and I know I'm a year out of date now, but I think it's them trying to learn the breadth of job roles within the gaming industry, and then esports. So, you know, it's a little bit like football. I kind of relate it to football. Everybody who really likes football wants to become a top football player for whatever, Barcelona, Man United, whatever they want to do, without seeing that just the football team alone has, you know, business and finance and marketing and all the coaching and all the medical sides. And it's the same with games. You know, you've still got people who need to run the office, you've still got people who need to do marketing, you've still got people who've got to do PR and HR and take care of your staff, and you've got all the journalism. And then in esports, you've got all the production, so you've got filming, all the crews, all the talk show hosts, analysis, all the camera. So it just goes on and on. You have a big list of job responsibilities that you can use to get into it, into the industry, rather than the prime ones, from my experience or speaking to students, would be become a professional gamer or be a game designer. And that alone, that job title of game design is so broad. It's quite difficult to go in as a games designer without having a specialism within that as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's more to try and, I think students kind of need more opportunities to expose them to typical world of games and esports a little bit more. You know, there's lots of events and stuff now, but I think there still needs to be more to help them understand what opportunities there are for them.
Yeah. Jake, any points there before we?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like what Max was saying about, you know, skills that you can get in other industries. Don't turn them down because you're trying to get in the games industry. I'm definitely an example of that. Like Terry, I was in education before. You know, studied wildlife conservation and biodiversity, planned on becoming the next David Attenborough, and then in my free time started setting up a community, and then the next thing I knew I was in the games industry, you know, and now I'm joining a charity organization to try and make the games industry more inclusive for autistic people. So you know, and again, I'm still working in the games industry. My role is still considered within the bubble of the games industry. Everyone I talk to is in the games industry. So, but you know, if I mean, my title is Games Partnership Manager, but I work for a charity. So yeah, definitely. Again, and like what Terry was saying is, it's not just the games industry isn't just like these tiny roles. There's so many. There's so much diversity in the roles that you can do. You know, like you pointed out, the finance, HR. I think one of the great startups, or I think one that might be worth checking out is Into Games. I don't know if you guys have heard of Into Games.
Rings a bell.
Yeah, so Into Games are looking at kind of collating all the games industry job roles and kind of highlighting opportunities. So that's a good resource to check out. Also, Yuki earlier this year released the first games industry census,
which really
presents exactly. It's such a powerful tool and really gives us a benchmark of data. Again, another vitally important thing that Autistic does is everything's about data. So, you know, Yuki presenting that's another great tool to show the types of people that are in different roles and what they might experience in those roles and the diversity within those roles. So I think, definitely there's resources out there, just look for them. And definitely don't dismiss an opportunity because you think it might be not linked to the games industry, because you never know.
Definitely. We've actually had SideQuest HQ, who's been asking some of these questions, has said, I work at Into Games, Jake.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So if you want to find out more about Into Games, check the SideQuest HQ.
Great stuff. I think that's everything, guys. Is there anything else you want to add? Because we've covered a nice broad range here. Is there anything else you want to squeeze in? Any shout-outs or anything we might have missed?
For myself, obviously, you know, we are a team, so and we are recruiting drivers. So if you or somebody you know is a keen sim racer and they want to maybe take it a bit more seriously or get involved with like-minded people who could support them and grow them and give them opportunities to race in against drivers and in events that they maybe didn't think were possible before, then they can give us a shout. But you know, as us as a team and we grow, there are going to be other opportunities moving forward. So and again, you know, they'll be open up to disabled people. It's not just drivers we need. So yeah, so if you feel you can offer a role to us, and we can see benefit in that, then yeah, by all means, just give us a shout. They can catch us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. They can also find us on Discord as well.
Great stuff. Terry, Jake, any final words?
Shall I go first or something? Just a shout out for special effects. You know, if they help a little bit like with Max, they aren't state funded, so they get all their funding through donations or through fundraising. And with a number of events that have been cancelled recently, kind of their publicity, at least in person, has changed, been reduced quite a bit. So if you want to find out about how you can help raise them through, you know, streams and stuff, which you can do anytime really, which lots of people do, that'd be really cool. But also if you or you know somebody who might benefit from custom setups, whether that's on PC or console, through whether they have problems with mobility or being able to hold a controller or be able to control a mouse and keyboard with their hands. They do a lot of work by going out to people's houses and doing custom setups to help anybody play games. So honestly, they've helped people who are almost completely paralyzed, whether they were born with it or had an accident when they were growing up. So please make sure you just have a look. You just search special effect online and then have a look at some of their case studies. Hopefully that can help.
Great stuff. Final word to you then, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, Autistica face a similar challenge, not government funded, and in this current situation that we all find ourselves, their income has obviously been greatly impacted. All of us at Autistica have taken a reduction of 20%. So, you know, during this time, we're all taking reduced working and reduced income to kind of help the charity through this challenging period. And yeah, Autistica Play is relatively new. It's a year and a half, but the purpose is literally just to support autistic talent in and coming into the games industry, increase understanding and awareness of autism, and ultimately raise vital funds for the autism research that is so vitally needed. And I think now more than ever, I think it's really important that autistic people are not forgotten, because obviously while some are able to flourish, there's others that need so much more support. And also, if anyone needs any resources or information on COVID, we've shifted our focus to kind of be a major resource hub. So do check out Autistica. There's loads of information there, whether you want information for yourself or whether you're an employer, and you want information for your staff and how to kind of manage your company, your studio, whatever it be. Autistica are focused on that with a program called DARE, Discover Autism Research and Employment, which is a big thing that I hold personally. I think it is really important when it comes to increasing the inclusivity of the games industry in terms of employment. So do check out Autistica or Autistica Play if you're interested in the game side. Yeah, that's it.
Great stuff. Well, thanks once again, guys. I appreciate it, especially on a bank holiday Monday, and it's lovely weather out there. So if you've got gardens and things, I know I'm going to be going out my garden for a little bit. Thank you very much for tuning in. So I'll say goodbye to you guys now and then end our video call, and then I'll just stay on the stream just to talk to the chat about a few other things British Esports is doing. So thanks again, and thanks for people in the chat watching. This VOD will be posted on YouTube and across our socials over the next week or two. So thanks very much, guys. I appreciate it, and thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Dom. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Ta-da.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. Today I just wanted to say to mention some exciting initiatives that the British Esports Association are doing this week. Elliot, there he is in the chat, thanking you all. Thanks, Elliot, for being around and modding and things like that. There's a tournament going on right now. It's the All-Star Showdown. It's a British Esports Rocket League tournament in association with Rocket Kingdom TV, and it's looking at some of the best student teams across schools and colleges across the UK, and that's taking place all this week. In fact, this week's going to be our busiest week on the British Esports Twitch channel and with Rocket Kingdom TV. So there's a schedule below. You can see when the streams are taking place. I think it's every day this week bar one, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So come and check it out. The final will be on Friday, so if you only tune in once, tune in on Friday to see who wins. Yeah, please do stick around for that. And we also have a Women in Esports stream on Wednesday, I think at 4 p.m. I hope I'm right there, which is looking at, it's going to be a fun stream. It's not going to be a panel discussion, because I know we do a lot of panel discussions here, so we're trying to vary it up a bit. It's going to be a pummel party session, which I'm told is a very fun game. I've never played it myself, so I'm going to tune in and see what that's like. So that's Wednesday at 4 p.m. I think. And as Elliot said, we're going to raid Rocket Kingdom TV now. Elliot, please do work your raid magic after this stream. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And Sacco signing off for now.
Well,